The enigma of brain storage. Memory is the foundation of our identity. It shapes our understanding of the world, influences our decisions, and connects us to our past. Yet despite the pivotal role it plays in our lives, the mechanisms of how the brain stores and retrieves memories remain shrouded in mystery. How does a fleeting experience transform into a lasting memory? Why do some memories persist vividly while others fade into oblivion? These questions have intrigued scientists, philosophers, and psychologists for centuries, sparking countless studies and theories. Memory isn't just a passive process of recording events. It's an active, dynamic mechanism that shapes who we are and how we perceive the world around us. Memory isn't a singular process, but a complex system encompassing various types and stages. Sensory memory is the briefest form, capturing sensory impressions for a fraction of a second. This form of memory allows us to process vast amounts of information from our environment, even if only for a fleeting moment. Short-term memory holds information temporarily, typically for 15 to 30 seconds, enabling us to retain details just long enough to use them. Long-term memory stores information over extended periods, from hours to a lifetime, and can be remarkably resilient. Long-term memory further divides into explicit, declarative memory, which involves conscious recall of facts and events, including episodic, personal experiences, and semantic, general knowledge memory, and implicit, non-declarative memory, which encompasses unconscious skills and procedures like riding a bike or playing an instrument. This distinction is crucial because it highlights how different types of memories are processed and stored within the brain, each with unique pathways and mechanisms. Memory formation is often described in three key stages: encoding, storage, and retrieval. Encoding is the process of converting sensory input into a form that can be stored. This step involves attention, which filters information to determine what is worthy of retention. Storage involves maintaining the encoded information over time, with different brain regions playing specialized roles in this process. Retrieval is the act of accessing the stored information when needed, a process influenced by cues, context, and emotional states. At the neural level, memory formation involves changes in synaptic strength, a process known as synaptic plasticity. This plasticity is fundamental to learning and memory. One key mechanism is long-term potentiation, LTP, where repeated stimulation strengthens the connections between neurons, making future signal transmission more efficient. This process underscores how experiences can physically alter the brain's structure, creating lasting pathways that support memory retention. Contrary to early beliefs, memories are not stored in a single memory center of the brain. Instead, they are distributed across various regions. The hippocampus is critical for forming new long-term memories, especially episodic memories. The amygdala is involved in emotional memory, influencing how strongly we encode experiences based on emotional intensity. The prefrontal cortex plays a role in working memory and decision-making, while the cerebellum and basal ganglia are associated with procedural memory and motor skills. This distributed nature of memory storage creates a complex, resilient network that can adapt and compensate for damage or loss in specific areas. But here's the enigma. Even when specific brain regions are damaged, people can retain certain memories. This suggests that memory storage is both localized and distributed, creating a sophisticated system of redundancy and integration. The brain's ability to reorganize itself, known as neuroplasticity, plays a crucial role in this process, allowing other regions to take over functions when necessary. Forgetting is not merely a failure of memory, but an essential function. Theories explaining forgetting include decay theory, which posits that memories fade over time if not actively recalled. Interference theory, which suggests new information can disrupt the retrieval of old memories and vice versa. And retrieval failure, where the memory exists but cannot be accessed due to lack of proper cues. Interestingly, some memories are never truly forgotten but become inaccessible, under certain conditions such as hypnosis or brain stimulation. These lost memories can resurface, revealing the hidden depths of our mental archives. Memory is not a perfect recording of reality. It's reconstructive, meaning each recall can subtly alter the memory itself. Factors that influence memory distortion include the misinformation effect, where misleading information is incorporated into one's memory of an event. Imagination inflation, where repeatedly imagining an event can create false memories of it actually occurring. And emotional bias, where emotions can exaggerate or suppress details, altering the memory's accuracy. These distortions raise critical questions about the reliability of eyewitness testimony and the malleability of human recollection, with significant implications for legal and therapeutic settings. Some individuals possess remarkable memory capabilities. Eidetic memory, often called photographic memory, is rare and not as precise as popular culture suggests. Highly superior autobiographical memory, HSAM, enables individuals to recall almost every day of their lives in vivid detail, offering a unique window into the mechanisms of memory, storage, and retrieval. Savants exhibit extraordinary memory skills, often linked to neurodevelopmental conditions like autism. What differentiates these individuals' brains? Studies suggest structural and functional differences, but the exact mechanisms remain unclear, highlighting the vast potential and variability of human memory. Sleep is crucial for memory consolidation, the process stabilizing a memory after initial acquisition. During sleep, especially in deep non-REM and REM stages, the brain replays neural activity patterns associated with learning, strengthening memory traces. Sleep deprivation impairs this process, leading to poor memory retention and cognitive decline. This connection highlights the biological rhythms intertwined with memory processing and underscores the importance of rest for optimal cognitive function. Advancements in neuroscience are bringing us closer to manipulating memory. Optogenetics, which uses light to control neurons, has allowed researchers to implant and erase specific memories in animal models. Pharmacological interventions are being explored for PTSD treatment, with drugs that enhance or suppress memory formation. Brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, present potential tools for memory enhancement or restoration in individuals with memory impairments. These developments raise ethical questions. Should we erase traumatic memories? Could enhancing memory create inequalities? The potential to alter memory challenges our concepts of identity, authenticity, and personal history. Memory isn't just a biological function. It's deeply philosophical. Personal identity, as argued by philosopher John Locke, is defined by memory continuity over time. The ship of Theseus. Paradox questions whether we remain the same person if our memories are constantly reconstructed and altered. The extended mind. Hypothesis suggests that tools and environments, like journals or smartphones, act as extensions of our memory system, blurring the lines between internal cognition and external aids. As neuroscience advances, we may unlock deeper truths about memory. Emerging areas include neuroprosthetics, artificial devices that could restore or enhance memory. Genetic research aims to understand how genes influence memory capacity and susceptibility to disorders like Alzheimer's. AI and memory. Modeling uses artificial intelligence to simulate human memory processes, providing new insights into how memory works. These technologies could revolutionize not only medicine, but also how we understand and interact with our own minds. Memory is more than data stored in the brain. It's the essence of who we are. Its mysteries challenge our understanding of biology, psychology, and even the nature of reality itself. As we continue to explore the enigma of memory storage, we edge closer to unraveling not just how we remember, but what it truly means to be human. Our memories define us, connect us to others, and shape the narratives we live by. They are the threads that weave the fabric of our existence. Reflect on your own memories. What shapes them? What defines their importance? Perhaps the very act of remembering is a testament to the enduring enigma of the human mind. Memory is not just about the past. It is the lens through which we view the present and envision the future. It is, in every sense, the story of who we are. Savant Syndrome. We tell ourselves about who we are. Throughout history, certain individuals have exhibited abilities so extraordinary that they challenge our very understanding of the human mind. These remarkable people, known as savants, display profound talents in specific areas such as mathematics, art, music, or memory, often coexisting with developmental conditions like autism. Their exceptional skills raise fascinating questions. How do these abilities emerge? What do they reveal about the potential of the human brain? Are such extraordinary talents hidden within us all, waiting to be unlocked? The phenomenon of Savant Syndrome. Savant Syndrome is a rare condition in which individuals with developmental disorders, particularly autism spectrum disorder, ASD, demonstrate remarkable skills far beyond the average person's capabilities. These skills often fall into specific domains: mathematical abilities, rapid mental calculation, complex number patterns, and calendar calculation; artistic talent, hyper-realistic drawing, detailed painting, and perfect spatial representation; musical genius, perfect pitch, the ability to play instruments by ear, and complex compositions after hearing a piece just once; exceptional memory, recalling vast amounts of information with incredible precision, sometimes referred to as hyperthymesia. What makes Savant Syndrome even more intriguing is that these abilities often coexist with significant cognitive challenges, such as language impairments, social difficulties, or intellectual disabilities. This paradox raises profound questions about brain structure and function. Neurological insights into savant abilities. Advancements in neuroscience have provided some clues about the brain mechanisms underlying savant abilities. One key theory is the concept of islands of genius, where certain brain regions are extraordinarily developed or hyperconnected, compensating for deficits in other areas. Research suggests that savant skills may arise from atypical brain development, often involving the left hemisphere, which is responsible for language and logical processing. Damage or underdevelopment in this region can sometimes lead to compensatory overdevelopment in the right hemisphere, enhancing abilities related to visual spatial skills, memory, and creativity. Functional MRI, fMRI studies have shown heightened activity in areas like the posterior parietal cortex, associated with mathematical thinking, and the fusiform gyrus, linked to visual recognition and artistic talent. Additionally, alterations in neural connectivity and synaptic plasticity might play a role in amplifying the specific cognitive functions. The role of memory and extraordinary abilities. Many savants possess exceptional memory capabilities that defy conventional understanding. This includes eidetic memory, often referred to as photographic memory, where individuals can recall images, sounds, or objects with extreme accuracy after minimal exposure. For example, Kim Peek, the inspiration for the movie Rain Man, had an astonishing ability to memorize vast amounts of information, including thousands of books, maps, and historical facts. His brain exhibited unique structural differences, such as the absence of the corpus callosum, which connects the brain's hemispheres. This unusual wiring may have facilitated his extraordinary memory. Another fascinating case is Stephen Wiltshire, a British artist who can draw intricate cityscapes from memory after a single brief observation, capturing details with photographic precision. The mystery of acquired savant syndrome. While most savants are born with their extraordinary abilities, some individuals develop savant-like skills after a brain injury, stroke, or neurological event. This phenomenon, known as acquired savant syndrome, suggests that dormant cognitive potential exists within the brain, capable of being unlocked under certain conditions. One notable example is Derek Amado, who became a musical savant after a traumatic brain injury. Despite having no prior musical training, he gained the ability to play the piano with remarkable proficiency, composing complex pieces effortlessly. Such cases challenge our understanding of talent, suggesting that the brain may harbor hidden capacities that can surface unexpectedly. Theories on unlocking hidden potential. The extraordinary abilities of savants have led to speculation about whether similar skills lie dormant in everyone. Some researchers propose that the brain has vast, untapped potential, inhibited by neural filters that prioritize efficiency over raw data processing. The temporal lobe disinhibition hypothesis suggests that reducing activity in certain brain regions, like the left anterior temporal lobe, can unleash latent abilities. Experiments using transcranial magnetic stimulation, TMS, have temporarily enhanced mathematical, artistic, and memory skills in neurotypical individuals, supporting this idea. Additionally, the concept of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize itself, offers hope that extraordinary abilities can be developed through training, practice, and specific cognitive exercises. Savants in history and culture. Throughout history, savants and individuals with extraordinary abilities have fascinated and inspired. Historical figures like Leonardo da Vinci, Mozart, and Nikola Tesla exhibited traits that align with savant-like skills, including prodigious talent, intense focus, and unconventional thinking. In modern culture, portrayals of savants in films, books, and media have shaped public perception, often romanticizing or oversimplifying their experiences. While these depictions highlight the awe-inspiring aspects of savant abilities, they sometimes overlook the challenges faced by individuals living with such conditions. The ethical dimensions of enhancing human abilities. As science explores ways to unlock hidden cognitive potential, ethical questions arise. Should we attempt to artificially enhance human abilities? What are the implications of engineering genius or memory? How do we respect the autonomy and dignity of individuals with Savant Syndrome? The intersection of neuroscience, technology, and ethics will play a crucial role in shaping future discussions about cognitive enhancement, memory manipulation, and the boundaries of human potential. Savants and individuals with extraordinary abilities challenge our understanding of the human mind. Their remarkable talents reveal the brain's astonishing complexity, hinting at hidden capacities that may lie within us all. As we continue to explore the science behind these phenomena, we are not only uncovering the secrets of Savant Syndrome, but also redefining what it means to be human. Reflect on your own potential. What untapped abilities might you possess? Perhaps the very act of questioning is the first step toward discovering the extraordinary within. Imagine having two minds within one skull, each with its own perceptions, memories, and even conflicting desires. This is not science fiction. It's the fascinating reality experienced by individuals with split brain syndrome. This rare condition offers a profound window into the nature of consciousness, self-awareness, and how the brain orchestrates our unified experience of reality. The brain's architecture, hemispheres, and connectivity. The human brain is divided into two hemispheres, left and right, each responsible for different cognitive functions. The left hemisphere typically governs language, logic, and analytical thinking, while the right hemisphere excels in spatial awareness, creativity, and holistic processing. These hemispheres communicate through a thick bundle of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum, which acts like a bridge, allowing the two sides to share information seamlessly. In most people, this communication is so efficient that we experience a unified consciousness, unaware of the brain's dual architecture. The origin of split brain research. Split brain syndrome first came to scientific prominence in the 1960s through the pioneering work of neuroscientists Roger Sperry and Michael Gazzaniga. They studied patients who had undergone corpus callosotomy, a surgical procedure to sever the corpus callosum, often performed to alleviate severe, drug-resistant epilepsy. While this surgery successfully controlled seizures, it also produced astonishing cognitive effects, revealing the distinct personalities and capabilities of each hemisphere. Sperry and Gazzaniga's experiments not only earned a Nobel Prize, but also revolutionized our understanding of the brain and consciousness. The classic split brain experiments. One of the most famous experiments involved presenting different images to each hemisphere in split brain patients. The left eye, connected to the right hemisphere, might see an image of a spoon, while the right eye, connected to the left hemisphere, sees a fork. When asked to verbally identify what they saw, the patient would say fork, because language processing resides in the left hemisphere. However, if asked to select the object with their left hand, controlled by the right hemisphere, they would pick up the spoon. This demonstrated that each hemisphere had its own separate awareness and capabilities, effectively operating like two distinct minds within one person. Dual consciousness, two minds in one brain. The implications of these findings are profound. Split brain patients seem to possess dual consciousnesses, with each hemisphere having its own perceptions, thoughts, and even conflicting emotions. One side might respond rationally while the other expresses frustration or surprise. In some cases, patients reported feeling like they had two wills, two perspectives, competing within the same body. This challenges our basic assumptions about the self. Are we truly unified beings? Or are we collections of specialized modules that usually cooperate so well we don't notice their separateness? Insights into consciousness and identity. Split brain research forces us to rethink what consciousness really is. Is it a single, unified experience? Or is it an emergent property, a fragile alliance between specialized processes? If cutting the corpus callosum can divide awareness, what does that say about the nature of the self? Is you a single entity or a community of processes that usually work in harmony? These questions aren't just academic. They touch on ethics, philosophy, and even the treatment of mental health. Understanding the brain's division helps us appreciate the complexity of disorders like dissociative identity disorder, where multiple identities may inhabit a single mind. It also informs debates about free will, responsibility, and the nature of personal change. Clinical and practical implications. Split brain surgery is rare today, used only for the most severe epilepsy cases. But the insights it has given us are invaluable. They help us design better therapies for brain injuries and strokes. They inform rehabilitation strategies, recognizing that different hemispheres may compensate for each other. They also offer a humbling reminder of how delicate our sense of self really is. It's not a given. It's an achievement of brain architecture and communication. When that communication is disrupted, so is our experience of unity. Beyond split brain. Hemispheric specialization. Even in healthy brains, the hemispheres aren't identical. They specialize. The left hemisphere is often more analytical, verbal, detail-oriented. The right hemisphere is more holistic, spatial, intuitive. But this is not a strict division. Both sides work together on most tasks. Creativity, for example, requires the right hemisphere's big-picture thinking and the left's attention to detail. Language isn't purely left-sided. It has rhythm, tone, and context processed on the right. Split brain research just makes these specializations starkly visible. It shows what happens when the bridge between them is cut. The brain's resilience and adaptation. Another fascinating finding is how adaptable the brain is. Split brain patients often learn to compensate. They develop strategies to share information indirectly. They might speak out loud so both hemispheres can hear. Or they use environmental cues to bridge gaps in awareness. This adaptability is a testament to neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and adapt after injury or change. It offers hope for treating brain injuries, strokes, and other conditions. It suggests that even when connections are severed, new pathways can form. Philosophical reflections. Split brain research doesn't just tell us about epilepsy or surgery. It challenges our deepest assumptions about the mind. It suggests the self is not singular but constructed, that consciousness is not an indivisible soul but a process, and that unity requires communication and cooperation, even within our own heads. This realization can be unsettling, but it's also empowering. It means we are not fixed. We are adaptable, capable of change, capable of integrating new experiences into a coherent self, even when that self is made up of many parts. The implications for understanding consciousness. Split brain syndrome reveals that consciousness may not be a single, indivisible entity, but rather an emergent property arising from complex neural interactions. When the connection between the hemispheres is severed, the unified experience of self fragments into two distinct streams of awareness. This forces us to question what it really means to be one person. If two minds can exist within one skull, how do we define individuality? What unites our thoughts, feelings, and memories into a single self? Such questions extend beyond neuroscience into philosophy, psychology, and even spirituality. They challenge traditional notions of identity and free will, suggesting that what we call I is not a simple concept, but a carefully balanced integration of many parts. Cultural and ethical considerations. The study split brain patients has also influenced how we think about responsibility and agency. If a person has two streams of consciousness with potentially conflicting intentions, how do we assign responsibility for actions? This question, while mostly theoretical for split brain patients, has real-world relevance in understanding other conditions where identity and agency are fragmented, such as dissociative identity disorder. Moreover, it prompts us to consider the ethics of neurosurgical interventions. While split brain surgery can alleviate severe epilepsy, it comes with profound cognitive changes. Patients must adapt to a new sense of self, sometimes experiencing conflicts between their two hemispheres. This underscores the need for informed consent, psychological support, and careful consideration of the trade-offs involved in such procedures. Advances in brain imaging and connectivity studies. Modern neuroscience has built on the foundation laid by split brain research to study interhemispheric communication in healthy brains. Advanced imaging techniques like functional MRI, fMRI, and diffusion tensor imaging, DTI, allow scientists to map the brain's white matter tracts, including the corpus callosum. These studies reveal that while the corpus callosum is the primary bridge between hemispheres, other pathways also contribute to integration. For example, the anterior commissure and subcortical connections play roles in transferring information. Such findings suggest that even after partial damage or developmental anomalies, the brain can maintain some level of integration. Neuroplasticity and rehabilitation. The brain's remarkable ability to adapt, neuroplasticity, offers hope for patients who undergo corpus callosotomy or experience other forms of brain injury. Rehabilitation strategies often focus on training patients to use alternative pathways and develop compensatory techniques. For instance, patients might learn to verbalize thoughts to share them between hemispheres, or use environmental cues to aid memory and awareness. These approaches highlight the brain's capacity for self-repair and adaptation, even when major connections are disrupted. Broader lessons about the brain. Split brain research has taught us that the brain is both specialized and integrated. Each hemisphere has unique strengths, but it is the communication between them that creates the seamless experience of consciousness. When this communication breaks down, we see the underlying duality. This has broader implications for understanding mental health and cognitive diversity. Conditions like autism, ADHD, and dyslexia may involve differences in connectivity and hemispheric specialization. Rather than viewing these differences purely as deficits, we can see them as variations in how the brain organizes and integrates information. This perspective encourages more personalized approaches to education, therapy, and support. Beyond the clinic, insights into human nature. Split brain research doesn't just illuminate pathology. It reveals fundamental truths about all of us. Even in healthy brains, the two hemispheres constantly negotiate and balance. We rely on the left hemisphere for language, logic, and detail, while the right provides context, emotion, and big picture thinking. Creativity, empathy, problem solving all emerge from this collaboration. Understanding this can help us appreciate the value of different cognitive styles. It can remind us that diversity in thought is not a weakness, but a strength. That embracing multiple perspectives within our own minds and within society can lead to richer, more nuanced understanding. Philosophical reflections, the nature of self. Ultimately, split brain syndrome challenges us to ask, what is the self? Is it a single, unified I that persists unchanged? Or is it a dynamic process, a conversation between parts? If the self can split, can it also multiply, change, evolve? These questions matter not just for philosophy, but for how we live. They invite us to be humble about our assumptions, to recognize the complexity within us, to be compassionate toward the complexity in others. They remind us that identity is not fixed, but created, not singular, but plural, not static, but fluid. And that perhaps, in embracing this complexity, we can better understand what it means to be human. For example, some patients experience situations where one hand would button a shirt while the other unbuttoned it. Others reported internal conflicts, as if two separate wills were vying for control. This raises philosophical questions. What defines the self? Is consciousness unified, or is it an illusion crafted by the brain's interconnected networks? The hemispheric specialization debate. While popular culture often exaggerates the differences between the left and right hemispheres, split brain research highlights genuine functional specializations. The left hemisphere is dominant for language and logical reasoning, while the right excels in visual spatial processing and recognizing faces. However, both hemispheres are capable of complex thought. Even in split brain patients, the right hemisphere can exhibit problem-solving skills, emotional responses, and nonverbal communication abilities. This suggests that consciousness is not confined to a single area, but emerges from dynamic interactions across brain regions. Living with split brain syndrome. For individuals living with split brain syndrome, daily life can be surprisingly normal. Over time, the brain adapts, finding new ways to integrate experiences. Many patients report minimal disruptions in routine activities, though subtle cognitive differences persist. Patients often develop compensatory strategies, relying more on one hemisphere for specific tasks. Interestingly, most are unaware of their divided consciousness in everyday life unless tested in controlled experimental settings. Insights into consciousness and the self. Split brain syndrome challenges our deepest assumptions about the mind. If severing the corpus callosum can create two distinct streams of consciousness, what does this mean for the concept of a singular self? Are we all, in a sense, composed of multiple selves, harmoniously integrated by the brain's connectivity? Some philosophers and neuroscientists argue that consciousness is not a unified entity, but a collection of parallel processes woven together seamlessly. The sense of I may be an emergent property of the brain's complex network dynamics, rather than a fixed singular phenomenon. The ethical and philosophical implications. Understanding split brain syndrome also raises ethical questions, especially in the context of neuroscience and artificial intelligence. If consciousness can be divided, could it also be replicated or artificially constructed? What are the moral considerations for individuals whose sense of self has been fundamentally altered by surgery or neurological conditions? Moreover, this research prompts us to reconsider how we define personal identity. If two distinct minds can coexist within one brain, where does personhood begin and end? Modern research and future directions. Today, neuroscientists continue to explore the mysteries of split brain syndrome using advanced imaging techniques and cognitive tests. New research focuses on understanding how the brain compensates for lost interhemispheric communication and what this reveals about neuroplasticity. Some studies investigate partial callosotomy, where only specific sections of the corpus callosum are severed, offering insights into how different regions contribute to consciousness. Others explore potential therapies for enhanced cognitive integration in split brain patients. Split brain syndrome is more than a neurological curiosity. It is a profound testament to the brain's complexity and adaptability. It challenges our understanding of consciousness, identity, and the very nature of reality. By studying the divided mind, we gain insights not only into how the brain functions, but also into what it means to be human. Reflect on your own sense of self. Is it truly singular, or could it be a symphony of distinct voices harmonizing within the vast network of your mind? Perhaps the greatest mystery lies not in the split brain, but in the illusion of unity that defines us all. Free will. The idea that we have the power to make choices independent of external influences is a cornerstone of human identity, moral responsibility, and societal structure. We like to believe that our decisions are products of conscious thought, shaped by personal values and deliberate reasoning. But what if this sense of control is an illusion? What if the choices we make are predetermined by biology, environment, and unconscious neural processes? The hard problem of free will. The hard problem of free will delves into this profound philosophical and scientific question. It challenges not just how we make decisions, but whether we genuinely can make them at all. Is free will an undeniable truth, a comforting myth, or something in between? To unravel this mystery, we must explore the intersection of neuroscience, philosophy, psychology, and even quantum physics. The classical understanding of free will. Traditionally, free will has been defined as the ability to choose between different possible courses of action unimpeded. Philosophers have debated its nature for centuries, dividing into three main camps. Libertarian free will argues that individuals have complete autonomy over their choices, unbound by deterministic forces. Determinism claims that every event, including human actions, is determined by preceding causes, leaving no room for true free will. Compatibilism suggests that free will and determinism are not mutually exclusive. We can still be free if our actions align with our desires, even if those desires are determined. But where do these philosophical concepts stand in light of modern science? The neuroscientific challenge to free will. In the 1980s, neuroscientist Benjamin Libet conducted groundbreaking experiments that shook the foundations of free will. He discovered that brain activity, specifically, a signal known as the readiness potential, occurs before individuals become consciously aware of their decision to act. In other words, the brain decides before we think we do. Libet's work was expanded upon by researchers like John Dylan Haynes, whose studies using fMRI technology showed that brain activity could predict a participant's decision up to 7 seconds before they were consciously aware of it. This raises unsettling questions. If our brains initiate actions before our conscious minds are aware, is our sense of agency just an after-the-fact narrative? The illusion of conscious control. Cognitive science suggests that much of our behavior operates on autopilot, driven by unconscious processes. The conscious mind, rather than being the decision maker, may function more as an observer, rationalizing actions after they've been set in motion. Consider how we react instinctively in dangerous situations, like pulling our hand away from a hot stove. The reflex occurs before conscious thought can intervene. Even in more complex decisions, unconscious biases, emotional responses, and ingrained habits heavily influence outcomes, often without our awareness. Philosophical perspectives on the illusion of free will. Philosophers like Sam Harris argue that free will is an illusion. According to Harris, our thoughts and intentions emerge from a web of biological and environmental factors beyond our control. We don't choose our parents' upbringing or genetic predispositions, yet these elements shape who we are and how we behave. On the other hand, Daniel Dennett defends a compatibilist view, suggesting that even if our choices are influenced by prior causes, we still possess a form of freedom that matters. According to Dennett, free will isn't about absolute autonomy, but about the capacity to reflect, deliberate, and act according to our values. The quantum perspective, a new hope for free will? Some have turned to quantum mechanics to rescue the concept of free will. Unlike classical physics, which is deterministic, quantum theory introduces randomness at the subatomic level. Could this indeterminacy provide a foothold for free will? While intriguing, quantum randomness doesn't necessarily equate to freedom. Randomness is not the same as choice. If our decisions are the product of random quantum events, that's not exactly empowering. True free will would require more than just unpredictability. It would require control over that unpredictability. The role of consciousness, the hard problem. Within the hard problem, the debate over free will intersects with the equally perplexing hard problem of consciousness. How does subjective experience arise from physical processes in the brain? Some theories suggest that consciousness itself might play a causal role in decision-making, potentially offering a window for free will to operate. Or, for instance, the ORC-OR, orchestrated objective reduction theory, proposed by Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, posits that consciousness arises from quantum processes within brain microtubules. If true, this could imply a non-deterministic element in conscious thought. However, this theory remains highly controversial and speculative. Free will and moral responsibility. Regardless of its metaphysical reality, the belief in free will has profound implications for society. Our legal systems, moral codes, and personal relationships are built on the assumption that individuals are responsible for their actions. If free will is an illusion, how do we justify praise, blame, punishment, or reward? Some argue that understanding the deterministic roots of behavior could foster greater empathy and lead to more compassionate approaches to justice, focusing on rehabilitation rather than retribution. However, others worry that dismissing free will might erode personal accountability, leading to fatalism or moral apathy. The challenge lies in balancing scientific insights with the need for societal structures that encourage ethical behavior and personal growth. Practical implications. Does it matter? If free will is an illusion. Interestingly, even if free will is an illusion, the belief in it can have real psychological effects. Studies show that people who feel a sense of control over their lives tend to be happier, more motivated, and more resilient. Conversely, believing in a lack of agency can lead to passivity, decreased motivation, and even unethical behavior. This suggests that the perception of free will, whether true or not, plays a crucial role in human well-being and social cohesion. It raises a paradox. Even if our choices aren't truly free, believing they are might be beneficial. Free will remains one of the most profound mysteries of existence. It challenges our understanding of consciousness, morality, and what it means to be human. Whether an undeniable truth, a comforting illusion, or something in between, the question of free will forces us to confront the deepest layers of our identity. Reflect on your own choices. Are you the author of your actions, or is your story being written by forces beyond your control? Perhaps the very act of pondering this question is a testament to the complex interplay between freedom, determinism, and the human mind. Blindsight. Imagine navigating a room filled with obstacles without consciously seeing them. Picture catching a ball thrown in your direction, even though you swear you cannot see it. This is not the stuff of science fiction, but the astonishing reality for individuals with a condition known as blindsight. Blindsight challenges our understanding of vision, consciousness, and the brain's mysterious workings. What is blindsight? Blindsight is a neurological phenomenon typically resulting from injury to the primary visual cortex, V1, located in the occipital lobe of the brain. This region is crucial for processing visual information. When it is damaged, Individuals often lose the ability to consciously perceive visual stimuli in specific areas of their visual field, a condition known as cortical blindness. However, in cases of blind sight, patients can still detect movement, identify the location of objects, navigate around obstacles, and guess colors, shapes, or emotions on faces with accuracy far above chance. All of this occurs without the person having any conscious visual experience. They often insist they are just guessing, even when their guesses are remarkably accurate. The discovery of blind sight. Blind sight was first documented in the 1970s through the groundbreaking work of Lawrence Weisskranz and his colleagues. They studied a patient known as DB, who had lost conscious vision in part of his visual field due to surgical removal, a part of his primary visual cortex. When researchers presented visual stimuli to DB's blind field and asked him to guess details like the shape, orientation, or movement of objects, he consistently performed well above chance despite claiming he couldn't see anything. This paradoxical ability stunned the scientific community and opened a new frontier in the study of consciousness. The brain's visual pathways, more than meets the eye. To understand blind sight, it's crucial to explore how the brain processes visual information. Vision isn't a simple linear pathway from the eyes to the brain. It's a complex network involving multiple routes and regions. The primary visual pathway, known as the geniculostriate pathway, follows this route. Light enters the eye, hitting the retina. Signals travel via the optic nerve to the lateral geniculate nucleus, LGN, in the thalamus. Information is then relayed to the primary visual cortex, VU1, where conscious visual perception occurs. However, there's an alternative pathway known as the tectopulvinar pathway, which bypasses V1. Signals travel from the retina to the superior colliculus in the midbrain, and then to the pulvinar nucleus of the thalamus. This pathway processes motion, spatial orientation, and reflexive responses to visual stimuli without reaching conscious awareness. In blind sight, the primary pathway is damaged, but the alternative pathway remains functional, allowing unconscious visual processing to occur. The paradox of consciousness and perception. Blind sight forces us to reconsider what it means to see. Traditionally, vision is thought of as a conscious experience. Light enters the eyes, the brain processes it, and we become aware of what we see. But blind sight reveals that perception can occur without consciousness. This raises profound questions. Is conscious awareness necessary for perception? Can the brain know something without the mind being aware of it? What does this imply about the nature of consciousness itself? Blind sight suggests that consciousness may be just one layer of a multi-tiered cognitive system, with much of our sensory processing occurring below the surface of awareness. Types of blind sight. Researchers have identified different forms of blind sight, each highlighting unique aspects of unconscious vision. Type 1. Blind sight. Individuals have no conscious awareness of visual stimuli, but can guess attributes like location, movement, or shape with high accuracy. Second, type 2. Blind sight. Individuals experience a vague, non-visual awareness of stimuli, such as a feeling that something is there without seeing it. Affective blind sight. Some people can correctly identify emotional expressions on faces, even though they are unaware of seeing the face at all. These variations suggest that different neural circuits are responsible for different aspects of visual and emotional processing. Blind sight and the nature of consciousness. Blind sight provides a unique window into the hard problem of consciousness. How does subjective experience arise from physical processes in the brain? If the brain can process visual information without conscious awareness, what role does consciousness actually play? Some theories propose that consciousness is not necessary for basic perception, but evolved to integrate sensory information into a coherent narrative, enabling complex decision-making, planning, and social interaction. In this view, blind sight represents a glimpse of raw, unintegrated perception, vision without the story. Implications for neuroscience and philosophy. The study of blindsight has far-reaching implications. Neuroscience. It challenges the assumption that consciousness is required for sensory processing. This insight helps in understanding other conditions such as visual agnosia, neglect syndrome, and even aspects of autism. Orsis, philosophy. Blindsight adds complexity to debates about mind-body dualism, the nature of self-awareness, and the boundaries of subjective experience. Artificial intelligence. Understanding how the brain processes information unconsciously could inform the development of AI systems that mimic human cognition without conscious awareness. Blindsight beyond vision. Are there other forms? While blindsight is specific to visual processing, similar phenomena may exist in other sensory domains. Deaf hearing. Some individuals with cortical deafness can respond to auditory stimuli without conscious awareness. Numb touch. People with certain brain injuries can detect tactile stimuli without feeling them consciously. These conditions suggest that unconscious perception is not limited to vision, but may be a fundamental feature of how the brain processes all sensory information. Blindsight challenges our deepest assumptions. Blindsight challenges our deepest assumptions about perception, consciousness, and what it means to experience the world. It reveals that much of what we know and respond to operates beneath the surface of awareness, hidden from our conscious mind. Reflect on your own experiences. How much of your daily life is influenced by processes you're unaware of? Perhaps the true mystery isn't just what we can see, but what remains hidden in plain sight. Imagine, what if your gut had more to say about your mood, decisions, and even mental health than you ever imagined? The brain-gut connection is a revolutionary concept, reshaping our understanding of human biology. Far from being just a digestive organ, the gut is often referred to as the second brain, influencing emotions, cognition, and overall well-being through an intricate network of biochemical signals. This connection goes beyond simple digestion. It's a complex communication highway between the brain and the gut, involving nerves, hormones, and microbes that collectively shape how we feel and function. Understanding this link could unlock new insights into mental health, stress management, and even chronic diseases. The science of the brain. Gut axis. The brain-gut axis is the bidirectional communication system that connects the central nervous system, CNS, with the enteric nervous system, ENS, which governs the gastrointestinal tract. This system involves neural pathways. The vagus nerve, the longest cranial nerve, acts as a superhighway transmitting signals between the brain and gut. Hormonal signals. Hormones like serotonin, cortisol, and ghrelin influence mood, stress responses, and appetite. Immune system. The gut houses about 70% of the body's immune cells, playing a role in inflammation which can affect brain health. Microbiome. Trillions of microbes in the gut produce neurotransmitters and metabolites that impact mental states and behavior. The enteric nervous system, the second brain. The ENS is a vast network of neurons embedded in the gut wall, capable of operating independently from the brain. It regulates digestion, nutrient absorption, and gut motility. But it also produces neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which are critical for mood regulation. In fact, about 90% of the body's serotonin is produced in the gut. This startling fact challenges the traditional view that emotions and mental health are solely brain-based phenomena. The role of the microbiome. The gut microbiome consists of trillions of bacteria, viruses, fungi, and other microorganisms. These microbes are not passive residents. They actively communicate with the brain through metabolites. ES, short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs, produced during the fermentation of dietary fiber. These can cross the blood-brain barrier and influence brain function. Neurotransmitters. Gut bacteria can produce GABA, serotonin, and dopamine, which directly affect mood and cognition. Immune modulation. A healthy microbiome helps regulate inflammation, which is linked to depression, anxiety, and neurodegenerative diseases, mental health, and the gut. Emerging research shows strong links between gut health and mental disorders. Depression and anxiety. Dysbiosis, or microbial imbalance, is common in people with depression and anxiety. Probiotics and prebiotics have shown promise in improving mood and reducing stress. Autism spectrum disorder, ASD. Children with ASD often have gastrointestinal issues, and some studies suggest that altering the gut microbiome may improve behavioral symptoms. Neurodegenerative diseases. Conditions like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease have been linked to gut inflammation and microbial imbalances. The vagus nerve, a two-way communication superhighway. The vagus nerve plays a central role in the brain-gut connection. It regulates heart rate, digestion, and the stress response. Stimulating the vagus nerve through practices like deep breathing, meditation, and even cold exposure has been shown to reduce anxiety and improve mood. Interestingly, vagus nerve stimulation, VNS, is an emerging treatment for depression, especially in cases where traditional therapies have failed. Stress, emotions, and gut health. Stress doesn't just affect the mind, it has profound effects on the gut. Cortisol. Surge. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, which can disrupt the gut barrier, leading to leaky gut and systemic inflammation. Gut motility. Stress can cause digestive issues like irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, where the brain-gut connection becomes dysregulated. Microbial shifts. Stress alters the gut microbiome composition, reducing beneficial bacteria and increasing harmful strains. Conversely, gut health can influence stress resilience. A balanced microbiome supports the production of anti-inflammatory compounds and mood-regulating neurotransmitters. The gut immune-brain triangle. The immune system acts as a mediator between the gut and the brain. Chronic inflammation in the gut can trigger neuroinflammation, contributing to mental health disorders. Conditions like inflammatory bowel disease, IBD, often co-occur with anxiety and depression. Reducing inflammation through diet, probiotics, and stress management can have profound effects on both physical and mental health. Diet and the brain. Gut connection. What we eat profoundly impacts our gut and, by extension, our brain. Key dietary factors include fiber, supports healthy gut bacteria and short-chain fatty acid production. Fermented foods. Yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, and kimchi provide probiotics that enhance gut health. Omega-3. Fatty acids. Reduce inflammation and support brain function. Polyphenols. Found in berries, tea, and dark chocolate, they nourish beneficial gut microbes. Processed foods. Diets high in processed foods, sugar, and artificial additives can disrupt the microbiome, leading to inflammation and mood disorders. The future of brain-gut research. Scientists are exploring new frontiers in understanding the brain-gut connection. Psychobiotics. Probiotics specifically designed to improve mental health. Fecal microbiota transplants, FMT, transferring gut bacteria from healthy donors to treat conditions like depression and anxiety. Personalized nutrition. Tailoring diets based on an individual's microbiome to optimize mental and physical health. Gut connection. Mindful eating. Reduces stress and improves digestion. Probiotic and prebiotic foods. Enhance gut health. Stress reduction. Techniques. Meditation, yoga, and breathwork. Support vagal tone. Regular exercise. Promotes a diverse and healthy microbiome. Adequate sleep. Essential for both brain and gut health. The brain-gut connection reveals that mental and physical health are deeply intertwined. Our thoughts, emotions, and well-being are influenced not just by the brain, but also by the trillions of microbes residing in our gut. This new understanding challenges the mind-body divide and offers exciting possibilities for holistic health. Reflect on your own habits. How might your diet, stress level, and lifestyle choices be influencing not just your body, but your mind as well? Perhaps the key to mental clarity and emotional balance lies not just in the brain, but deep within the gut. Imagine vividly remembering an event that, according to historical records, never happened. Now imagine discovering that thousands of other people share the same false memory. This perplexing phenomenon is known as the Mandela Effect, named after the widespread false memory many people have of Nelson Mandela dying in prison during the 1980s. Even though he was released, became South Africa's president, and passed away in 2013. The Mandela Effect challenges our understanding of memory, reality, and the nature of human perception. Is it just a cognitive glitch? Or could it point to something more profound about the universe itself? This essay explores the origins, theories, and implications of this fascinating phenomenon. The origin of the Mandela Effect. The term Mandela Effect was coined by Fiona Broome, a paranormal researcher who realized that she and many others shared the same incorrect memory of Nelson Mandela's death in the 1980s. This discovery sparked widespread interest as people began sharing similar experiences of collective false memories. Some of the most famous Mandela Effect examples include Berenstain Bears versus Berenstain Bears. Many recall the popular children's book series spelled as Berenstain with an E, but the correct spelling is Berenstain. The Monopoly Man. Some remember him wearing a monocle, though he never did. Luke, I am your father. Often quoted from Star Wars, but the actual line is, No, I am your father. The location of New Zealand. Some people recall New Zealand being northeast of Australia, but it is actually southeast. These examples raise questions about how large groups of people can have the same incorrect memory. The science of memory. Why we misremember. To understand the Mandela Effect, we must first explore how memory works. Memory is not a perfect recording of events, but a reconstructive process. Each time we recall a memory, our brain reassembles it, often influenced by emotions, biases, and external information. Key cognitive phenomena involved include confabulation, the unintentional fabrication of distorted or false memories without the intent to deceive. Schema theory. Our brains use mental frameworks, schemas, to organize information, filling in gaps based on what makes sense. Source monitoring. Errors. Confusing the origin of a memory, such as mistaking a scene from a movie as a real-life event. These processes help explain why false memories are common. However, the Mandela Effect is intriguing because these errors occur on a collective scale. Collective false memories, a social phenomenon. While individual memory errors are well documented, the Mandela Effect suggests that groups can share identical false memories. This collective experience can be influenced by social reinforcement. When people discuss and reinforce each other's memories, it strengthens the false belief. Misinformation. Effect. Exposure to incorrect information after an event can alter memory, especially when repeated across media. Cultural influence. Iconic characters, phrases, and brands become embedded in collective consciousness, making them susceptible to memory distortions. For example, the famous Monopoly Man image might be conflated with other monocle-wearing characters like Mr. Peanut, leading to widespread false memories. The quantum theory. Hypothesis. Parallel universes. Beyond cognitive explanations, some propose more extraordinary theories. One popular idea is that the Mandela Effect is evidence of parallel universes or alternate realities intersecting with our own. According to this theory, people who remember events differently might be recalling experiences from an alternate timeline. While there is no scientific evidence to support this, the concept captivates the imagination and reflects our fascination with the multiverse theory in quantum physics. Could our memories be glitches in the matrix of reality? False memories in history and culture. The Mandela Effect isn't limited to pop culture. Historical events also show discrepancies in collective memory. The Challenger explosion. Some people vividly recall the explosion occurring in 1984, though it happened in 1986. Tiananmen Square. Tank Man. Many remember the protester being run over by a tank, though historical footage shows he was not. Henry VIII turkey leg portrait. People believe there's a famous painting of Henry VIII holding a turkey leg, but no such portrait exists. These examples highlight how memory is shaped by storytelling, media, and cultural narratives over time. The role of the internet in amplifying the Mandela Effect. The digital age has accelerated the spread of collective false memories. Online forums, social media, and viral content allow people to connect and validate each other's experiences, creating echo chambers where false memories thrive. When many individuals share the same false memory online, it creates a feedback loop, reinforcing the belief and making it seem more credible. The neuroscience behind memory errors. Neuroscientific research provides insights into the mechanisms behind the Mandela Effect. Brain regions involved in memory, such as the hippocampus and prefrontal cortex, are responsible for encoding, storing, and retrieving information. Studies using fMRI have shown that false memories activate similar brain regions as true memories, making it difficult for individuals to distinguish between the two. Additionally, emotional arousal can enhance the vividness of false memories, making them feel more real. The psychological comfort of false memories. False memories can provide psychological comfort by creating a sense of coherence and meaning. They help us make sense of complex or ambiguous situations, reinforcing our beliefs and identities. For example, remembering Nelson Mandela dying in prison might align with a narrative of justice and political struggle, making the memory feel right even if it's factually incorrect. The Mandela Effect and cognitive biases. Several cognitive biases contribute to the Mandela Effect. Confirmation bias. We tend to seek information that confirms our existing beliefs, reinforcing false memories. Anchoring bias. Relying too heavily on the first piece of information encountered, even if it's inaccurate. Availability. Heuristic. Judging the likelihood of events based on how easily examples come to mind, which can be influenced by media and repetition. These biases shape how we process and recall information, making us susceptible to shared memory distortions. Can the Mandela Effect be prevented? While memory errors are a natural part of cognition, strategies to improve memory accuracy include critical thinking, questioning assumptions, and verifying information with reliable sources. Mindfulness. Being present and attentive during experiences to enhance encoding of accurate details. Memory. Training. Techniques like spaced repetition and mnemonic devices can improve recall accuracy. The Mandela Effect reveals that memory is not a perfect record of reality, but a dynamic, reconstructive process shaped by individual experiences, social influences, and cultural narratives. It challenges our assumptions about truth, perception, and the nature of reality itself. Reflect on your own memories. How many are accurate reflections of the past, and how many have been shaped by time, influence, and belief? Perhaps the real mystery isn't the Mandela Effect itself, but the fragile, fascinating nature of human memory. Imagine seeing colors when you hear music, tasting flavors when you read words, or feeling textures when you listen to sounds. This extraordinary blending of the senses is known as synesthesia, a phenomenon that challenges our understanding of perception, consciousness, and the boundaries of human experience. Synesthesia isn't just a curiosity. It offers profound insights into how the brain constructs reality. What is synesthesia? Synesthesia is a neurological condition in which stimulation of one sensory or cognitive pathway leads to automatic, involuntary experiences in a second sensory or cognitive pathway. For example, grapheme color. Synesthesia letters or numbers are perceived as inherently colored. Chromesthesia. Sounds, such as music or spoken words, trigger the perception of colors. Lexical, gustatory. Synesthesia. Words evoke taste sensations. Mirror touch. Synesthesia. Seeing someone being touched causes the observer to feel the touch on their own body. These experiences are consistent over time for the individual, but vary widely between synesthetes. The science behind synesthesia. Synesthesia is thought to arise from increased connectivity or cross-activation between different brain regions. For example, in grapheme color synesthesia, researchers have found increased connections between the brain's color processing area, V4, and regions involved in recognizing letters and numbers. Brain imaging studies using fMRI have shown that when synesthetes view letters or hear sounds, their sensory regions light up in patterns consistent with their reported experiences. Development and prevalence. Synesthesia often emerges in childhood and tends to run in families, suggesting a genetic component. Estimates suggest that between 2% and 4% of the population experiences some form of synesthesia, though many may not realize their perceptions are unusual. Some theories propose that all humans may be born with synesthetic connections, which are typically pruned during development. In synesthetes, this pruning process may be incomplete, leaving cross-model connections intact. Synesthesia and creativity. Synesthesia has long been associated with creativity. Many famous artists, musicians, and writers have reported synesthetic experiences, including Wassily Kandinsky, who sought to create visual art that evoked musical sensations. Pharrell Williams, who describes seeing music in colors. Vladimir Nabokov, who detailed his grapheme color synesthesia in his memoirs. Researchers suggest that synesthesia may enhance metaphorical thinking, helping artists and creators draw connections across sensory domains. Philosophical and psychological implications. Synesthesia challenges the traditional boundaries of perception. It suggests that our senses are not isolated channels, but deeply interconnected. This raises questions about the nature of subjective experience. Is reality as we perceive it simply the brain's best guess, shaped by complex interactions among sensory modalities? Although, synesthesia also offers clues about consciousness. By studying how sensory experiences blend in synesthesia, scientists hope to understand how the brain integrates diverse inputs into a unified conscious experience. Synesthesia in language and culture. Interestingly, synesthetic metaphors are common in language. We talk about loud colors, sharp tastes, or warm sounds. These expressions may reflect a universal tendency to map sensory experiences onto one another, even among non-synesthetes. Such metaphors suggest that the boundaries between the senses are more permeable than often assumed. Clinical and cognitive research. While synesthesia is not considered a disorder, it typically does not impair functioning. It provides a unique model for understanding brain plasticity and connectivity. Research into synesthesia has informed our understanding of neural development, sensory integration, and even conditions like autism, where atypical sensory processing is common. Variations and induced synesthesia. Not all synesthesia is lifelong. Some cases have been reported following brain injury or under the influence of psychedelic substances. These induced forms of synesthesia suggest that the brain has latent potential for cross-modal connections that can be activated under certain conditions. Synesthesia and the brain's plasticity. The existence of synesthesia highlights the brain's remarkable plasticity. Our neural circuits are not rigidly hardwired, but can adapt, change, and form new connections. This adaptability underlies learning, memory, and even recovery after injury. Synesthesia may represent an alternative wiring of the brain that reveals the full potential of neural connectivity. It challenges the notion that perception is strictly modular, with senses operating in isolation. Instead, it suggests that our sensory systems are deeply intertwined, working together to create a rich, multi-layered experience of the world. Implications for artificial intelligence and design. Understanding synesthesia can also inspire innovations in technology and design. For example, data visualization. Mapping complex data onto color, sound, or touch can make it more intuitive to interpret. Assistive technologies. Sensory substitution devices can help people with disabilities translate one type of sensory input into another. For example, turning sound into visual patterns for the deaf. Creative tools. Artists and musicians can use cross-modal mapping to explore new forms of expression. By embracing the principles of synesthesia, designers can create more immersive and accessible experiences. Synesthesia and education. Some educators have explored whether synesthetic techniques can enhance learning. For instance, associating colors or shapes with letters, numbers, or concepts might aid memory and understanding. While not everyone is a synesthete, leveraging cross-sensory associations could help students form stronger mental connections. This approach taps into the brain's natural capacity for integrating information across senses. Ethical and personal reflections. While synesthesia is often celebrated for its beauty and creativity, it's important to recognize that experiences vary. For some, intense sensory crosstalk can be distracting or overwhelming. As with any neurological difference, it's essential to approach it with nuance and empathy. Synesthesia reminds us that perception is subjective. What seems normal is just one way of experiencing the world. By appreciating these differences, we can cultivate greater respect for the diversity of human minds. Final thoughts on synesthesia. Synesthesia challenges the boundaries of perception and expands our understanding of the human experience. It offers a window into the brain's capacity for connection, creativity, and complexity. By studying synesthesia, we not only learn about a rare and fascinating phenomenon, but also gain insights into how all of us perceive, interpret, and create meaning from the world around us. Reflect on your own senses. How do they interact? What metaphors and associations shape your experience? Perhaps the boundaries between seeing, hearing, tasting, and feeling are more fluid than you think. And in that fluidity lies the richness of being human. Imagine, when you read words or perceive numbers and letters as inherently colored, this is the fascinating world of synesthesia. A neurological phenomenon where stimulation of one sensory pathway involuntarily triggers experiences in another. Far from being a mere quirk, synesthesia reveals the brain's remarkable capacity for cross-wiring, challenging our understanding of perception, consciousness, and the boundaries of human experience. Synesthesia isn't just about unusual sensory overlaps. It's a gateway into how our brains process information, form connections, and create meaning. This essay delves into the mystery of synesthesia, exploring its types, causes, and the profound implications it holds for neuroscience and creativity. What is synesthesia? Derived from the Greek words syn, together, and aesthesis, perception. Synesthesia literally means joined perception. People with synesthesia, known as synesthetes, experience a blending of the senses that is consistent and automatic. Unlike hallucinations or imagination, these perceptions are involuntary and stable over time. For example, a synesthete might see the number 4 as inherently green, taste lemon when hearing a specific violin note, or feel a texture when hearing a certain sound. Estimates suggest that around 4% of the population has some form of synesthesia, though many may not realize their experiences are unique. Types of synesthesia. Synesthesia manifests in various forms, each offering a unique glimpse into sensory cross-activation. Grapheme color. Synesthesia. Letters or numbers are perceived as inherently colored. This is one of the most common forms. Chromesthesia. Sounds, such as music or voices, trigger the perception of colors. Lexical, gustatory synesthesia. Words evoke specific tastes or flavors. Spatial sequence synesthesia. Numbers, dates, or sequences are perceived in specific spatial arrangements. Ear touch. Synesthesia. Feeling a tactile sensation on one's own body when observing someone else being touched. Ordinal linguistic personification. Associating personalities or genders with letters, numbers, or days of the week. Each type highlights the brain's extraordinary ability to intertwine sensory pathways in ways that defy conventional experience. The neuroscience of synesthesia. What causes it? While the exact mechanisms remain elusive, neuroscience offers several compelling theories. Cross-activation. Hypothesis. In synesthetes, adjacent brain regions responsible for different senses may have increased connectivity. For example, the area processing numbers may be unusually linked to the color processing region, leading to grapheme color synesthesia. Disinhibited feedback. Theory. Synesthesia might result from a lack of inhibition in neural pathways, allowing information to flow more freely between sensory areas that are typically kept separate. Genetic factors. Synesthesia often runs in families, suggesting a genetic component. However, the inheritance pattern is complex, likely involving multiple genes. Brain imaging studies such as fMRI and DTI, diffusion tensor imaging, have shown increased connectivity in the brains of synesthetes, supporting these theories. Is synesthesia a disorder or an enhancement? Unlike many neurological conditions, synesthesia is not considered a disorder. Most synesthetes view their experiences as neutral or even positive. Some report enhanced memory, creativity, and cognitive abilities linked to their unique sensory associations. For example, famous synesthetes like Wassily Kandinsky, artist, Franz Liszt, composer, and Daniel Tammet, mathematical savant, attributed their extraordinary talents to synesthetic experiences. This suggests that synesthesia may offer cognitive advantages, particularly in fields requiring creative thinking. Synesthesia and creativity. The connection between synesthesia and creativity is well documented. Synesthetes often excel in the arts, where their cross-sensory experiences inspire novel perspectives. Musicians with chromesthesia might see music as vibrant color patterns, influencing composition and performance. Writers may craft vivid metaphors based on their multisensory perceptions. This unique sensory blending can foster abstract thinking, pattern recognition, and innovative problem-solving, traits commonly associated with creative genius. Synesthesia in childhood development. Interestingly, some researchers propose that all humans may be born with synesthesia-like connections, which typically fade as the brain matures. In infants, sensory pathways are highly interconnected, allowing for rich, multisensory experiences. As the brain develops, these connections become more specialized. In synesthetes, this pruning process might be incomplete, preserving cross-sensory links into adulthood. This theory aligns with the idea that synesthesia represents a neurodevelopmental variation rather than an anomaly. The subjective nature of reality. Synesthesia challenges the assumption that perception is objective. It reveals how the brain constructs reality based on subjective interpretations of sensory data. For synesthetes, a number isn't just a number, it's imbued with color, texture, or even emotion. This raises profound philosophical questions. What is reality if perception varies so dramatically between individuals? Can we define a singular objective reality? How do we know our experiences are real? Are we all in some sense experiencing a form of synesthesia without realizing it? Synesthesia reminds us that reality is not a fixed entity but a dynamic interplay between the external world and the brain's interpretive mechanisms. Synesthesia and memory. Synesthesia often enhances memory. The vivid multisensory associations create strong mental anchors, making it easier to recall information. This phenomenon is known as memory hooks. For example, a synesthete might remember phone numbers based on their color patterns or historical dates because of the unique spatial arrangement they perceive. This ability has practical applications in education and cognitive training, inspiring mnemonic techniques that mimic synesthetic principles. The dark side of synesthesia. While often seen as a gift, synesthesia can have downsides. Some synesthetes experience sensory overload or emotional distress, particularly with forms like mirror touch synesthesia. Feeling physical pain when witnessing someone else's injury can be overwhelming. Additionally, synesthetic perceptions are involuntary and inescapable. This can be distracting or even intrusive, especially in environments with conflicting sensory stimuli. Can synesthesia be induced? Research suggests that synesthesia-like experiences can be temporarily induced through various methods. Psychedelics. Substances like LSD, psilocybin, and mescaline can produce synesthesia-like effects, blending sensory modalities in novel ways. Meditation and sensory deprivation. Altered states of consciousness may enhance cross-sensory perceptions. Hypnosis and training. Some studies indicate that synesthetic associations can be learned or simulated, though these are typically less vivid than natural synesthesia. While induced synesthesia provides insights into brain plasticity, it differs fundamentally from lifelong consistent synesthetic experiences. The future of synesthesia. Research. Synesthesia remains a rich field of study in neuroscience, psychology, and philosophy. Ongoing research explores neural mechanisms, mapping the precise brain circuits involved in different forms of synesthesia. Genetic basis, identifying specific genes linked to synesthetic traits. Applications in AI. Understanding synesthesia may inspire new approaches to artificial intelligence and multisensory data processing. Synesthesia is more than a neurological curiosity. It's a testament to the brain's boundless potential for connection and creativity. It reveals that perception is not a passive reception of information, but an active, dynamic process shaped by individual neural architectures. Reflect on your own senses. How do you experience the world? Could there be hidden connections you've never noticed? Perhaps the true mystery isn't just in synesthesia itself, but in the limitless ways our minds can interpret and reimagine reality. Imagine being fully conscious, aware of everything around you, but completely unable to move or speak. You can see, hear, and think, yet your body is a motionless prison. This is the harrowing reality of locked-in syndrome, LIS, a rare neurological condition that severs the connection between the mind and the muscles, leaving individuals trapped within their own bodies. Locked-in syndrome challenges our understanding of consciousness, communications of the human spirit. Despite its terrifying nature, it also reveals profound insights into the power of the mind, the essence of identity, and the relentless drive for connection. What is locked-in syndrome? Locked-in syndrome is a condition characterized by complete paralysis of nearly all voluntary muscles in the body, except for those controlling eye movement. Individuals with LIS are fully awake and cognitively intact, but unable to move, speak, or express themselves through conventional means. The most common form of communication for LIS patients involves blinking or vertical eye movements, allowing them to interact with the world in limited but meaningful ways. Despite their physical limitations, many retain their senses, emotions, and full intellectual capabilities. Causes of locked-in syndrome. LIS typically results from damage to the brainstem, particularly the pons, which is responsible for relaying signals between the brain and the spinal cord. Primary causes include stroke, the most common cause, leading to disruption of blood flow to the brainstem. Traumatic brain injury. Severe head injuries can damage critical neural pathways. Neurological diseases. Conditions like amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, or multiple sclerosis, MS, can progressively lead to LIS. Infections or tumors. affecting the brainstem and its connections. While the brain's cognitive functions remain intact, the communication between the brain and the muscles is severely impaired. The experience of being locked in. For those with LIS, the world becomes a paradox, fully present mentally but invisible physically. Patients often describe the experience as being buried alive or trapped in a glass box, able to observe life without participating in it. The psychological impact is profound. Emotional distress, frustration, anxiety, depression, and feelings of isolation are common. Cognitive clarity. Despite physical immobility, many report vivid thoughts, dreams, and memories. Resilience. Over time, some individuals adapt to their condition, finding ways to communicate and engage with the world. Communication, the lifeline of connection. Communication is the key to improving the quality of life for LIS patients. Traditional methods include eye tracking devices, allowing individuals to select letters or words on a screen using eye movements. Blink codes, simple systems where blinks correspond to yes or no answers. Advancements in technology have introduced brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, enabling direct communication between the brain and external devices. BCIs can interpret neural signals to control computers, speech synthesizers, or even robotic limbs, offering new avenues for interaction and autonomy. Notable cases of locked-in syndrome. Several high-profile cases have brought attention to LIS, highlighting both the challenges and triumphs associated with the condition. Jean-Dominique Bobby, the editor of Elle magazine who suffered a massive stroke, leading to LIS. Using only his left eyelid, he dictated his memoir, The Diving Bell and the Butterfly, letter by letter, sharing profound reflections on life, memory, and identity. Tony Nicholson, a British man who became an advocate for the right to die with dignity after developing LIS following a stroke. His legal battle sparked global debates on ethics, autonomy, and quality of life. These stories reveal the depth of human resilience and the enduring will to communicate even under the most restrictive circumstances. The neuroscience of locked-in syndrome. Understanding LIS requires an exploration of the brain's complex architecture. While the brainstem controls basic functions like breathing and heart rate, it also serves as the primary conduit for motor signals. In LIS, the motor cortex responsible for voluntary movement remains active. The pons is damaged, blocking the transmission of motor commands to the body. Sensory pathways are often intact, meaning patients can feel touch, hear, and see normally. Neuroimaging techniques like fMRI and EEG have revealed that the brains of LIS patients respond similarly to healthy individuals when processing language, emotions, and stimuli, confirming their cognitive awareness. Consciousness, the self, and LIS. Locked-in syndrome challenges philosophical and scientific notions of consciousness and selfhood. It forces us to reconsider what defines personhood. Is it the ability to move and speak, or the continuity of thought and self-awareness? The mind-body problem. This illustrates that consciousness can exist independently of voluntary physical expression, emphasizing the brain's role as the seat of the self. These questions resonate beyond LIS, influencing debates in artificial intelligence, coma research, and end-of-life ethics. Ethical and legal challenges. LIS raises complex ethical issues, particularly concerning autonomy, consent, and quality of life. Key considerations include right to die. Cases like Tony Nicholson's highlight the struggle for legal recognition of assisted dying for individuals with severe disabilities. Informed consent, ensuring that LIS patients can participate in decisions about their care, often through painstaking communication methods. Medical neglect. Misdiagnosis is a risk, with some patients mistakenly classified as being in a vegetative state. Proper assessment is crucial to avoid overlooking conscious individuals. The role of technology in transforming lives. Technological advancements offer hope for LIS patients. Brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, allow direct communication through thought, bypassing the need for physical movement. Augmentative and alternative communication, AAC, devices provide tools for expressing needs, thoughts, and emotions. Robotic prosthetics, controlled via neural signals, enabling limited physical interaction with the environment. These innovations not only improve quality of life, but also challenge the boundaries of what it means to be locked in. Resilience and psychological adaptation. Despite the extreme limitations, many LIS patients demonstrate remarkable psychological resilience. Factors contributing to adaptation include social support. Strong relationships with family, friends, and caregivers are vital. Purpose and meaning. Engaging in creative activities, advocacy, or intellectual pursuits provides a sense of purpose. Cognitive reframing. Focusing on what remains possible rather than what is lost fosters emotional well-being. Locked-in syndrome is a testament to the power of the human mind, its capacity for awareness, connection, and hope even in the face of unimaginable constraint. It challenges us to reconsider our definitions of life, consciousness, and communication. Reflect on your own life. How much do we take for granted in our ability to express, move, and connect? Perhaps the true lesson of LIS isn't just about those who are locked in, but about how we can unlock deeper empathy, understanding, and appreciation for the fragile yet resilient nature of human existence. Imagine, what if time isn't as linear and consistent as we believe? Imagine moments stretching into eternity or hours, vanishing in the blink of an eye. Time often feels elastic, expanding and contracting based on experiences, emotions, and even age. While clocks measure time with unwavering precision, the mind paints a vastly different picture. The anomalies of time perception challenge our understanding of reality. Time in the realm of human consciousness becomes subjective, shaped by psychological and neurological processes. Understanding these distortions reveals insights into how the brain functions, how memories are formed, and how emotions color perceptions. The science of time perception. Time perception is governed by various brain regions, including the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the body's master clock, the cerebellum, and the prefrontal cortex. Unlike senses like sight or hearing, time lacks a specific sensory organ. Instead, the brain constructs the experience of time through a combination of sensory information, attention, and memory. Key factors influencing time perception include attention. Intense focus can slow the perception of time. Emotion. High stress or emotionally charged events often feel prolonged. Memory. The richness of memories influences how long events feel in retrospect. Age. Time appears to accelerate with age, influenced by routine and novelty. The elastic nature of time. Time stretches and contracts based on context. Time dilation in emergencies. In life-threatening situations, time feels like it slows down. This isn't due to faster brain processing, but rather the creation of dense, vivid memories making the event feel longer in hindsight. The oddball effect. When encountering something unexpected in a series of familiar events, the novel stimulus seems to last longer because the brain dedicates more resources to processing it. The holiday paradox. Vacations feel brief while they're happening, but seem longer in retrospect due to the novelty and density of memories formed. The role of emotion in time perception. Emotions significantly alter the experience of time. Fear and anxiety. These emotions heighten awareness, making moments feel elongated. Joy and flow. States. Engaging activities cause time to feel like it's passing quickly. Boredom. A lack of stimulation slows down time perception, creating a sense of prolonged moments. Neurotransmitters such as dopamine and norepinephrine influence these effects. Elevated dopamine levels associated with excitement and novelty can make time feel shorter, while low dopamine levels can slow the perception of time. Time and memory. The density of experience. Perception of time is closely linked to how memories are formed and recalled. The more vivid and detailed the memories within a period, the longer that time feels in retrospect. This explains why childhood summers felt endless. They were filled with new experiences and learning moments. As routines dominate in adulthood, fewer novel memories are created, giving the illusion that time accelerates. Traumatic events also feel longer when recalled because the brain records them with heightened detail as a survival mechanism. Temporal illusions, when time tricks the mind. Several cognitive illusions demonstrate how flexible the perception of time can be. Chronostasis, the stopped clock illusion. When glancing at a clock, the second hand may appear to pause momentarily. This occurs because the brain fills in the gap during rapid eye movements, creating an extended perception of that first moment. The Kappa effect. Events separated by greater spatial distances are perceived as taking more time, even when the duration is identical. The flash lag effect. Moving objects appear ahead of a flash occurring simultaneously because the brain predicts motion to compensate for processing delays. The impact of technology on time perception. Modern technology significantly distorts time perception. Constant notifications. Rapid content consumption and multitasking fragment attention, affecting the sense of time. Social media. Endless scrolling creates a time warp where hours pass unnoticed. Streaming platforms. Binge watching compresses time, making long periods feel brief. Video games. Immersive environments induce flow states, causing players to lose track of time. Technology not only alters the real-time experience, but also affects how time is remembered, often reducing the richness of stored memories. Cultural differences in time perception. Cultural attitudes shape how time is experienced and valued. Anachronic cultures emphasize schedules and punctuality, viewing time linearly and as a resource to manage. Polychronic cultures view time as fluid, focusing on relationships and adaptability over strict adherence to schedules. These cultural perspectives influence stress levels, productivity, and social interactions. Mental time travel, the human mind's unique ability. The human mind has a unique ability to mentally travel through time, recalling the past and imagining the future. This process relies on the brain's default mode network, responsible for self-reflection and scenario simulation. Interestingly, recalling past events and envisioning future scenarios activate the same brain regions, highlighting the interconnectedness of memory and foresight. Time perception in altered states of consciousness. Altered states of consciousness, whether induced by meditation, substances, or extreme conditions, dramatically affect time perception. Psychedelics. Substances like LSD or psilocybin distort time, making brief moments feel prolonged or hours seem fleeting. Meditation. Deep meditative states often create a sense of timelessness or an eternal present. Dreams. Time within dreams can be bizarrely elastic, with lengthy narratives occurring in seconds of real time. These altered states suggest that time perception is a flexible construct influenced by brain chemistry and cognitive focus. Philosophical perspectives on time. Philosophers have long debated the nature of time. Presentism. The idea that only the present is real. Eternalism suggests that past, present, and future equally exist in a four-dimensional space-time. Growing block universe. The past and present exist, but the future does not yet. These perspectives question whether time flows or whether that flow is merely an illusion of human consciousness. Time and the self. Our experience of time shapes our sense of self. We build narratives from memories, project goals into the future, and define identity through the continuity of these temporal threads. Disruptions in time perception, such as in trauma, certain mental health conditions, or neurological disorders, can fracture this narrative, challenging our sense of who we are. For example, PTSD. Traumatic memories can feel as if they are happening in the present, blurring the line between past and now. Dementia. Disruptions in the ability to form new memories or recall the past can erode the continuity of identity. Time and mortality. Awareness of time is intimately tied to our awareness of mortality. We measure our lives in years, mark milestones, and grapple with the inevitability of endings. This temporal awareness drives meaning-making, prompting reflection on legacy, purpose, and what we value most. Philosophers argue that confronting our finite time can lead to deeper authenticity and intentional living. Practical strategies to engage with time more mindfully. Given how subjective time perception is, we can adopt strategies to shape our experience of it. Mindfulness practices. Paying attention to the present moment can slow the sense of rushing and cultivate awareness. Embracing novelty. Seeking new experiences and learning opportunities can enrich memory formation, making time feel fuller. Limiting distractions. Reducing multitasking and fragmented attention can lead to a more coherent sense of time. Balancing routine and variety. While routines offer stability, interspersing them with novel activities can combat the sense of time speeding up. Final reflections on time perception. Time isn't merely something to measure. It's something we experience, interpret, and inhabit. It's shaped by our attention, emotions, memories, culture, and even technology. By understanding the mind's role in constructing time, we can approach our days with greater intentionality. Perhaps the true gift is recognizing that while we can't control time itself, we can influence how we experience it. We can choose to fill it with meaning, connection, and awareness. Reflect on your own experience. How does time feel to you? Does it race by in a blur, or do you savor its passing? Perhaps by paying closer attention, we can rediscover time not as an enemy to be conquered, but as the canvas upon which we paint the story of our lives. What if the mind and the body are not the same? What if our thoughts, emotions, and consciousness exist independently of our physical form? This intriguing idea lies at the heart of mind-body dualism, a philosophical concept that has shaped our understanding of human existence for centuries. Mind-body dualism suggests that the mind and the body are fundamentally distinct entities. While the body is composed of tangible physical matter, the mind is an intangible realm of thoughts, consciousness, and subjective experience. This distinction raises profound questions about the nature of reality, the essence of consciousness, and what it truly means to be human. The roots of dualism, Descartes, and the birth of modern philosophy. Mind-body dualism is most famously associated with the 17th century philosopher René Descartes, often referred to as the father of modern philosophy. Descartes' proposition, cogito ergo sum, I think therefore I am, became the cornerstone of his dualistic theory. Descartes argued that while the body operates like a machine governed by physical laws, the mind is a non-physical substance responsible for thought, self-awareness, and rationality. He believed the pineal gland served as the seat of the soul, a bridge between the immaterial mind and the physical brain. While Descartes' anatomical theories were later disproven, his philosophical framework sparked enduring debates about the relationship between mind and body. The mind-body problem, bridging two worlds. The central challenge of dualism is known as the mind-body problem. How do non-physical thoughts influence the physical brain and vice versa? If the mind and body are separate, how can they interact? This question has led to various interpretations of dualism. Substance. Dualism posits that the mind and body are two distinct substances, one material and one immaterial. Property. Dualism suggests that the mind and body are made of the same substance, but that mental states have unique, non-physical properties. Interactionist. Dualism argues that the mind and body can affect each other, though the mechanism remains mysterious. Despite these distinctions, the core mystery remains. How can something immaterial produce tangible effects in the physical world? Critiques of dualism. The rise of materialism. While dualism dominated philosophical thought for centuries, it faced significant challenges with the advent of modern science. The rise of materialism and physicalism shifted focus toward the brain as the sole source of consciousness. Key arguments against dualism include neuroscientific evidence. Brain imaging technologies like fMRI show that mental states correlate with neural activity. Changes in brain chemistry can alter emotions, memories, and personality, suggesting that the mind arises from physical processes. Occam's razor. This philosophical principle favors simpler explanations. Materialists argue that positing an immaterial mind adds unnecessary complexity. The problem of interaction. Critics question how an immaterial mind could interact with the physical brain without leaving detectable evidence. Despite these critiques, dualism persists, especially in discussions of consciousness, personal identity, and the possibility of life after death. The hard problem of consciousness. One reason dualism endures is the hard problem of consciousness, coined by philosopher David Chalmers. While science can explain how the brain processes information, it struggles to explain why these processes are accompanied by subjective experiences, what it feels like to be you. For example, consider the experience of seeing the color red. Science can describe the wavelengths of light and the neural pathways involved, but it cannot fully explain the qualia, the subjective, qualitative aspect of experience. Dualists argue that such subjective phenomena suggest the existence of a non-physical mind. Dualism in religion and spirituality. Many religious and spiritual traditions align with dualistic views, positing the existence of a soul or spirit distinct from the body. In Christianity, the soul is considered eternal, surviving beyond physical death. In Hinduism and Buddhism, the concept of Atman or consciousness transcends the material self. These beliefs often provide comfort in the face of mortality, suggesting that consciousness continues after the body perishes. Dualism thus intersects with existential questions about the afterlife, reincarnation, and the nature of the divine. Modern dualism, beyond Descartes. While classical dualism faces scientific scrutiny, contemporary thinkers have refined the concept. Emergent dualism proposes that consciousness emerges from complex brain activity but possesses properties that cannot be reduced to physical explanations. Panpsychism suggests that consciousness is a fundamental feature of the universe, present even in basic forms in all matter. Dual aspect. Monism argues that mind and matter are two aspects of the same underlying reality, neither reducible to the other. These theories attempt to bridge the gap between subjective experience and objective science, offering fresh perspectives on the mind-body relationship. The neuroscience of dualism. Is the mind more than the brain? Neuroscience has made remarkable strides in mapping brain activity, yet the mystery of consciousness remains unsolved. Studies of phenomena like near-death experiences, NDEs, out-of-body experiences, OBEs, and cases of blindsight challenge purely materialist explanations. For instance, some individuals report vivid conscious experiences during periods of flatline brain activity, raising questions about whether consciousness can exist independently of brain function. While skeptics attribute these experiences to residual brain activity or psychological factors, they fuel ongoing debates about the nature of the mind. Artificial intelligence and the question of consciousness. The development of artificial intelligence, AI, adds a new dimension to the mind-body debate. Can machines ever possess consciousness, or will they always be mere simulations of human thought? If consciousness requires a non-physical mind, as dualists suggest, then true AI consciousness may be impossible. However, if consciousness emerges solely from complex information processing, advanced AI systems could eventually achieve self-awareness. This question challenges the boundaries of dualism, and forces us to reconsider what it means to be conscious. The personal identity. Puzzle. Mind-body dualism also intersects with questions of personal identity. What makes you you? Is it your physical body, your memories, your consciousness, or something more? Thought experiments like the Ship of Theseus and scenarios involving mind uploading in science fiction explore these dilemmas. You. If your consciousness were copied into a computer, would that copy still be you? Dualism suggests that personal identity might involve an immaterial essence beyond physical continuity. Ethical implications of dualism. Beliefs about the mind-body relationship influence ethical views on topics like euthanasia and end-of-life decisions. If consciousness is separate from the body, does life persist beyond physical death? Animal rights. If animals possess consciousness, do they have moral rights similar to humans? Mental health. Viewing mental illness through a dualistic lens can shape approaches to treatment, balancing biological and psychological factors. Dualism shapes not only philosophical discourse, but also real-world decisions about life, death, and the value of consciousness. Mind-body dualism remains one of the most profound and enduring questions. Whether the mind is a separate entity, an emergent property, or an illusion crafted by the brain, the search for answers continues to captivate thinkers across disciplines. Consider your own experiences. Are your thoughts and feelings mere byproducts of brain chemistry, or do they point to something more? Perhaps the true mystery isn't just in the mechanics of the mind, but in the enduring human quest to understand the nature of existence itself. Imagine your mind when it wanders, lost in thought, daydreaming about the past, contemplating the future, reflecting on yourself. Far from being idle, your brain is remarkably active during these moments, engaging in complex internal processes. This mental activity is orchestrated by a powerful system known as the default mode network, DMN. The DMN challenges the traditional view that the brain is only active when focused on external tasks. Instead, it reveals that the brain has a default mode of operation, responsible for self-reflection, imagination, and the continuous narrative that shapes our sense of self. Understanding the DMN offers profound insights into consciousness, creativity, and mental health. What is the default mode network? The default mode network is a collection of interconnected brain regions that show heightened activity when the mind is at rest and not focused on the outside world. These regions include medial prefrontal cortex, MPFC, involved in self-referential thinking and decision-making. Posterior cingulate cortex, PCC, plays a role in memory retrieval and integrating information. Precuneus, associated with visual spatial imagery and consciousness. Angular gyrus, linked to language, number processing, and memory. Hippocampus, crucial for forming and recalling memories. The DMN becomes less active when attention shifts to external tasks, highlighting its role in internal mental processes. Discovery of the default mode network. The DMN was discovered accidentally through brain imaging studies using functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI. Researchers noticed that certain brain regions remained active, even when participants were not engaged in specific tasks. In fact, these areas showed more activity during rest than during cognitive tasks. This unexpected finding led to the realization that the brain is never truly off. Even when seemingly idle, it is engaged in activities like mind-wandering, daydreaming, and self-reflection. Functions of the default mode network. The DMN supports a wide range of cognitive functions. Self-referential thinking, reflecting on personal experiences, emotions, and identity. Autobiographical. Memory, recalling past events and constructing a coherent narrative of the self. Future planning, imagining future scenarios and setting goals. Theory of mind, understanding the thoughts, feelings, and intentions of others. Moral reasoning, considering ethical dilemmas and making value-based decisions. These functions are essential for maintaining a stable sense of self and navigating complex social environments. The DMN and consciousness. The DMN is closely linked to consciousness and self-awareness. It helps create the continuous inner dialogue that defines subjective experience. This connection has led some researchers to propose that the DMN may be a neural correlate of consciousness, a network critical for the experience of being. Interestingly, altered states of consciousness, such as during meditation, hypnosis, or psychedelic experiences, often involve changes in DMN activity. This suggests that the DMN plays a role in shaping not just ordinary awareness, but also extraordinary states of mind. The DMN and mental health. Abnormal DMN activity has been associated with various mental health conditions. Depression. Hyperactivity in the DMN can lead to excessive rumination, contributing to negative thought patterns. Anxiety. Overactive DMN may cause persistent worry and self-focused attention. ADHD. Dysregulation of the DMN can result in difficulties with attention and impulse control. Schizophrenia. Disruptions in DMN connectivity are linked to hallucinations and altered self-perception. Understanding the DMN's role in these disorders offers new avenues for treatment, including mindfulness-based therapies and neuromodulation techniques. The DMN and creativity. While the DMN is often linked to mind wandering, it also plays a crucial role in creativity. The ability to generate novel ideas, imagine alternative realities, and solve complex problems often arises from the interplay between the DMN and task-positive networks involved in focused attention. Creative thinking involves a dynamic balance between these networks. Divergent thinking, generating multiple ideas and possibilities, facilitated by the DMN. Convergent thinking, focusing on specific solutions, supported by task-positive networks. Highly creative individuals often show strong DMN activity combined with the ability to regulate and integrate other cognitive networks. The DMN and meditation. Meditation practices, especially mindfulness and focused attention, have been shown to influence DMN activity. Regular meditation is associated with reduced DMN activity, leading to decreased self-referential thoughts and enhanced present moment awareness. This reduction in DMN activity correlates with improved attention, less distraction by mind wandering, emotional regulation, decreased reactivity to negative thoughts, enhanced well-being, greater feelings of calm and clarity. Meditation may act as a tool to modulate the DMN, promoting mental flexibility and resilience. Altered states in the DMN. Psychedelic substances such as psilocybin and LSD profoundly alter DMN activity. Studies show that psychedelics reduce connectivity within the default mode network, leading to experiences of ego dissolution, where the sense of self temporarily fades. These altered states can enhance creativity by breaking habitual thought patterns, promote mystical experiences, feelings of unity and interconnectedness, support mental health, potential therapeutic effects for depression, PTSD, and addiction. Understanding the DMN's role in these experiences sheds light on the neural basis of altered consciousness and transformative psychological states. Final reflections on the DMN. The default mode network challenges the idea of the idle brain. It reveals that even when we appear to be doing nothing, our minds are engaged in rich internal processes. Self-reflection, memory, imagination, and moral reasoning all depend on this network. Far from being a distraction, mind-wandering may be essential for creativity, problem-solving, and maintaining a coherent sense of self. However, when dysregulated, the DMN can contribute to mental health challenges. By understanding and modulating this network through practices like mindfulness, therapy, and even carefully guided use of psychedelics, we can foster healthier, more adaptive ways of thinking. Consider your own mind. When does your mind wander? How do you reflect on your past, plan your future, or imagine alternative realities? These moments are not wasted. They are when the default mode network is at work, weaving the narrative of who you are. By paying attention to these internal journeys, we can better understand ourselves and perhaps even guide the story we tell about our lives. The DMN across the lifespan. The DMN develops early in life and continues to evolve with age. Childhood. DMN connectivity is less developed, reflecting limited self-reflection and abstract thinking. Adolescence. Rapid DMN development supports identity formation and complex social cognition. Adulthood. Mature DMN. Connectivity enables sophisticated self-awareness and future planning. Aging. Changes in DMN activity are linked to cognitive decline and conditions like Alzheimer's disease. These developmental changes highlight the DMN's role in shaping the evolving landscape of consciousness throughout life. The future of DMN research. The study of the default mode network is a rapidly growing field in neuroscience with implications for mental health. Treatments targeting DMN activity for depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Brain-computer interfaces, enhancing communication and cognitive control. Artificial intelligence, modeling human-like consciousness and self-awareness. Philosophy of mind, deepening our understanding of the relationship between brain activity and subjective experience. The default mode network reveals that even in moments of stillness, the mind is far from idle. It is the hidden engine driving self-reflection, imagination, and the continuous narrative that shapes our identity. Consider your own mind-wandering moments. What do they reveal about your thoughts, emotions, and sense of self? Perhaps the true mystery isn't just in the brain's activity, but in the dynamic, ever-changing story it tells. The story of you. Beneath the surface of conscious awareness. Beneath the surface of conscious awareness lies a vast, mysterious realm that influences thoughts, behaviors, and emotions without realization. This hidden domain is the unconscious mind, a powerful force that governs much of daily life, shaping decisions, habits, and even identity. The unconscious mind operates silently, orchestrating complex processes like memory, perception, and emotional regulation. While conscious thoughts occupy attention, the unconscious mind works tirelessly in the background, guiding actions based on deeply ingrained patterns and experiences. Understanding its power offers profound insights into human potential, personal growth, and the mysteries of the psyche. What is the unconscious mind? The unconscious mind refers to mental processes that occur outside conscious awareness. These processes influence behavior without direct control, including automatic skills, procedural memory, like riding a bike or typing on a keyboard. Implicit biases, unconscious attitudes and stereotypes that shape perceptions and judgments. Emotional responses, reactions triggered without conscious thought, often rooted in past experiences. Dreams and symbolism, the language of the unconscious, revealing hidden desires and fears. The unconscious mind functions as an adaptive mechanism, enabling quick decisions and efficient processing of complex information. The origins of the unconscious. Freud's legacy. The concept of the unconscious mind was popularized by Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis. Freud divided the mind into three parts. Conscious. Thoughts and perceptions actively in awareness. Preconscious. Memories and information accessible with effort. Unconscious. Repressed desires, traumatic memories, and instincts hidden from awareness. Freud believed that unconscious conflicts influence behavior, often manifesting through dreams, slips of the tongue, Freudian slips, and neurotic symptoms. While some of Freud's theories have been challenged, his work laid the foundation for exploring the unconscious mind. Modern understanding of the unconscious mind. Contemporary psychology views the unconscious mind through a scientific lens, focusing on cognitive and neural processes. The unconscious is not a hidden place, but a dynamic system influencing guide, priming. Exposure to certain stimuli affects responses without conscious awareness. Subliminal perception. Information processed below the threshold of awareness still impacts behavior. Heuristics and biases. Mental shortcuts that guide decision-making without conscious deliberation. Neuroscience reveals that unconscious processing occurs in regions like the amygdala, basal ganglia, and default mode network, highlighting the brain's capacity for complex non-conscious operations. The power of unconscious beliefs. Unconscious beliefs, formed through early experiences and cultural influences, shape identity and worldview. These beliefs can be empowering or limiting, affecting self-image, unconscious narratives about worth and capabilities. Relationships, patterns of attachment and emotional response. Success and motivation, beliefs about potential and resilience. Uncovering and reprogramming. Unconscious beliefs through techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, hypnosis, and mindfulness can lead to profound personal transformation. The role of the unconscious in creativity. Creativity often emerges from the unconscious mind. Great artists, writers, and thinkers tap into unconscious processes through incubation. Stepping away from a problem allows the unconscious to generate insights. Flow. States. Deep immersion in an activity where actions feel effortless and intuitive. Dreams and daydreaming. Sources of inspiration, connecting disparate ideas in novel ways. The unconscious mind excels at pattern recognition, synthesizing information in ways the conscious mind cannot, leading to aha moments and creative breakthroughs. The unconscious and emotional regulation. Emotions are deeply rooted in unconscious processes. The brain continuously evaluates the environment for threats and rewards, triggering emotional responses before conscious awareness catches up. Fight or flight. Response. An automatic reaction to danger governed by the amygdala. Emotional conditioning. Learned associations that trigger specific emotional reactions. Implicit emotion. Regulation. Strategies for managing emotions without conscious effort, influenced by past experiences. Understanding the unconscious basis of emotions enables better self-regulation and emotional intelligence. The unconscious in decision-making. Many decisions are made unconsciously, driven by intuition, gut feelings, and automatic judgments. The dual process. Theory explains this through two systems. System 1. Fast, automatic, intuitive, and unconscious thinking. System 2. Slow, deliberate, analytical, and conscious reasoning. While System 2 feels like the real decision maker, System 1 often dominates, especially under time pressure, stress, or cognitive load. The power of unconscious decisions. Unconscious decision-making is not a flaw, it's an evolutionary advantage. It allows quick responses to threats, efficient habits, and seamless multitasking. Examples include driving a familiar route, navigating without consciously thinking about every turn. First impressions, forming judgments about people within seconds based on subtle cues. Intuitive expertise, athletes or musicians performing complex actions effortlessly. These decisions rely on mental shortcuts or heuristics, which simplify problem solving but can also lead to cognitive biases. The neuroscience behind decision making. Brain imaging studies reveal distinct neural circuits for conscious and unconscious decisions. Unconscious decisions involve the basal ganglia, habit formation, amygdala, emotional processing, and default mode network, automatic thinking. Conscious decisions engage the prefrontal cortex, responsible for reasoning, planning, and impulse control. Interestingly, experiments show that the brain often decides before conscious awareness. In Benjamin Libby's famous study, participants' brains showed readiness potentials milliseconds before they reported making a conscious decision, suggesting that unconscious processes initiate actions. The role of emotion in decision-making. Emotions rooted in unconscious processing play a critical role in decision-making. The somatic marker hypothesis, proposed by Antonio Damasio, suggests that emotional signals, gut feelings, guide choices, especially under uncertainty.